Hello, I am Victoria Nicole, and I am the host of the Confessional Room. Welcome. Come on in, have a seat. All right. The Confessional Room is a place where we have real stories, real people, and the prayer is the real healing. I started the Confessions of a Lady back in 2020, officially on paper. And shortly after that, in 2021, after being tired of being sick and tired of being tired of walking around here like I was fine, and after sharing my story of what happened with me as a little girl with my mother, I finally was able to birth the Confessional Room. So just a little bit of story about that. So at the age of 7, my innocence, my vulnerability was robbed and taken from me because I was molested. Like so many other people that I know, and according to statistics, I am just one of the 8 people who have been molested or sexually abused before the age of 18. And we have to know that statistics are only based off people who actually get up and tell their story. So there may be more. It may be 1 in 3. It may be 1 in 4. It may be whatever. But I am that statistic. Just like so many of you that are going to watch this or share this with one of your family or friends, or it gets shared on the internet, I am one of the statistics, and you may be too. However, that was not your defining moment. What you do afterward is. I remember being that loud, rambunctious girl running around, just feeling free. But after that moment of being told to not tell anyone, and my treat for the situation was to eat waffles. Waffles is a whole nother beast that was not able to conquer until I was probably in my 20s, maybe even my early 30s, of actually being able to eat waffles without feeling some type of, I don't know how to even put it into words, some type of guilt or shame about myself, because it was tied to a trauma event that I had when I was 7. Again, I can't remember exactly when, but isn't that kind of crazy? Like I remember telling myself, I'm just a pancake lover. But the truth of the reality is pancakes and waffles are dang near the same. But because of what happened to me at such a young age, I felt like waffles were different. Now I feel like waffles are different solely based off the fact that I don't like a lot of syrup on my pancakes, and I don't like them little crevices or whatever you call them in waffles, but that's neither here nor there. So in that, I just remembered always being on the defense, always being like, I'm going to get you before you get me, and not truly realizing that I was just in survival mode for so long, like so many other people. I was just always trying to feel like no one would ever be able to run me over or take from me without me having to say so. I remember even saying, like, give me a choice, even when like in dating. Give me a choice. Don't make a decision for me. Like, do not rob me of the opportunity to say no if I want to. Like, that is something that I remember saying for so long. Like, don't take my choice from me. And even hearing myself say that now, I can still even remember, like, I still do that from time to time. And even though I am a person that you can't tell me anything about my past, I shared it too much. I share it raw and uncut and unapologetically. And there's not nothing that you can say about me that will make me feel any type of way about me. But even still in that, I feel like, I don't know, there may be something still there. But nevertheless, when I started the Confessional Room back in 2021, I know that outside of me being a mother, an educator, a friend, I know that my true purpose here on life or here on earth is to help women to confess their issues, to help bring women out of the things that they feel as if has trapped them for so long. I remember my daughter was 7 years old. It was around the time I was trying to finish the girl who died at 7. And I remember being on the phone with probably one of my ministerial friends and just telling them, like, I need to tell my mom, like, I'm not going to be able to, like, something is just not going to go right. And they're like, have you spoken to her? And I was like, no. And they were like, today. Today is going to be the day that you're able to talk to her. And that way you won't feel guilty for putting out your own testimony. And so I remember walking a property. I was working in property management at this time. And I remember walking the property and I was like, okay, I'm going to call her. And this time, I think my mom answered the phone and she said, what you got to tell me, V? Because that's what she called me. What you got to tell me, V? And so I remember not even stuttering over my words as I had so many other times when trying to tell her what happened. And this time it just kind of flowed. And I remember telling her, like, Ma, I'm not upset or mad at you anymore, because I had held on so much resentment and so much anger towards her, because I felt like as my mother, you should have been there, to protect me. You should have been there to make sure nothing happened to me. But when you entrust somebody to take care of your child, you would never think that you would do the thing that will hurt them the most. And I believe, again, that is so many of us watching this, that you are one of 8. And that is not a number that I pulled out of the sky, but that is a statistical fact. And because of that, especially in our brown community, we don't really talk about the things that happen inside of our homes. What we do is, what happens in this house stays in this house, and you shouldn't tell anybody. That's your business. Like, you're going to make people look bad. But the truth is, you're hurting inside. The truth is, you don't feel comfort. You don't feel like yourself. You don't feel free. You feel like you're in bondage. You feel like ultimately it's your fault. The reason why you're not able to love correctly or properly or to receive it is because you were never, in the age of 7 for me, I don't remember who says it, but that is the year, psychologist, whomever says it, that is the year that you learn trust. And in that moment, I did not have that. So I grew to not have trust, like so many of you watching this. So I want to pause there and just let you know that it's not your fault. The things that happened in your past are not your fault. So within the confessional room, I just know that this is my purpose in life. And if you were following me on social media, you know from the past month, I've been saying I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But what I know is that when you do something like this, there's going to be people who say things about you, and you're going to be underneath attack if you truly feel like this is your purpose. And I just remember laying on the floor last night and like telling my friend, like, I got to get up and do this, but like everything is just going wrong. Like, I don't have time. And she was like, what if? Again, another person saying to me, what if this is the time that you're supposed to be doing it? What if this time is the reason why things aren't going your right? And I'm a firm believer. Our beliefs do not have to be exactly the same. But one thing that I know, whatever you read tells you what you put out is what you get out. And although I allow for my external things to factor in me not putting out this podcast when I said I know now that this is my happy place. Helping and seeing other women thrive and young girls thrive is something that I am truly passionate about. So here we are again, season 2, episode 1, raw and uncut. I wrote a ton of scripts on how I wanted this to flow. But one thing I know is that we're just going to flow inside here. We're going to get raw. We're going to get uncut. It can be uncensored. Some people may cuss. Charge it to the game and not to their heart. They mean well. I mean well. I'm not perfect. I cuss. Now, my first lady there may not like it, but I cuss, and I cuss with the best of them. But I'm going to try my best to kind of keep this in the straight and narrow. One thing I understand is that my story may not be your story, but I pray that someone that comes and sit in this other seat over here will share something with you that will let you know that you are not alone, that you are able to come out. And so that's where we get to. One of the things back in 2021 that I was really big on were the 3 A's. And for me, what that meant was, so until I got to the place where there's not nothing somebody can say about me that makes me feel some type of way about myself, I remember, and I believe that it's like in some 12 steps, is that I had to acknowledge those things. And so acknowledging them on a grander scale was having that conversation with my mother, was me being set free. So from me being set free, I have been able to travel and speak and tell my testimony, my story. I have been invited to different churches and small groups to tell my story. And it's because I acknowledged it. There's nothing that I can do for the things that have happened in my past, especially when I was a child. Now, there's some things that happened to me as an adult that, I had my hand in, but as a child, there was nothing I can do about that. It didn't make me damaged. It didn't make me worthless, even though those are things that I had began to tell myself. And I mastered the saying of I'm fine. It just happened. And now where do I go from that? So I acknowledge the things in my past. I accept that I can't change those things. And then I began to affirm myself that I am deserving of a better and brighter future. Like, those are things that I had to really hone in with therapy, with surrounding myself with people who truly loved and adored the inner me and not the exterior me. Because sometimes when we get into a place of survival, because that's where I was growing up, I had to make sure everything was perfect. I had to make sure that I did and I said everything correctly. But it wasn't until my daughter was probably 4 when my friends, and I still rock with them to this day, my friends admitted me into the mental institution, and I was there for 3 days and 4 nights because I just began to get tired. I just could not pretend anymore. I could not finesse my way out of conversations anymore to go home and to cry and to pop pills or go and have sex with an ex that I know didn't mean me no good. But because in that moment I felt love and I felt secure and they told me all the things that, I wanted to hear. I was tired, but I was tired to the point that I did not want to self-harm as I did so many times in the past, popping pills, get on the interstate and driving full fast, or however you say it, and knowing that in rush hour traffic, I should have gotten into an accident, but because God kept me, I did not. I remember when I got there, I spent, like I said, 3 days and 4 nights. And I remember just talking and, calling my brother. And he told me on the phone, and I'm telling him, like, brother, I'm just tired. I just can't do this no more. And he on the phone said, who told you to take the weight of the world and put it on your shoulders? And I said, but I got to be perfect. I got to do it this way. And he was like, nobody told you that. Nobody knows what you're going through because you don't share it. You keep everything inside of you in hopes that, they'll just magically understand or know what you're going through. If you need help, you should have said it. And I'm thinking on the phone, but I did. But I didn't. I just expected people to do things the way that I wanted them to do it, or to leave me alone, or for me to self-bandage myself. I had all these bullet holes in me, and I was just throwing Band-Aid after Band-Aid on it with, again, sex, pills, alcohol at one time, just anything to try and cope, but never really dealing with my issue. And so that's how I ended up in the hospital. And I remember maybe like day 2, I got to speak to a psychologist, and I was telling him all the things I had told other people to kind of shoot him off. And I remember that man looking at me and saying, Miss Victoria, you are no longer a counselor. You are now a patient. And you are going to stay here until you admit that you need help. I looked at that man, and I remember that is when I broke. That is when I cried and I cried and I cried. And if you have ever been at the psych ward, you know that you can't do all that screaming, or they're going to pump you with some medicine to calm you down. And that man made me stay those entire 3 nights. And he told me, the only way that I'm going to let you go is you have to sign these papers to say that you are going to go to therapy. And so I began therapy. I had to have gone to maybe 2 or 3 before I actually found one that I've been sticking with. I break up with her from time to time because she don't be doing right. And that I have been with off and on for the past 5 or 6 years. And I say off or on because sometimes I still struggle. Sometimes I get it right and life goes well, but I'm glad that she is still in my life in order for me to do better for when those hard moments come. So, with that being said, that is why we're here for the Confessional Room. We will have guests in here that'll share their story from being single mothers to being the entrepreneur and walking by faith, financial abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse. They will all come into the Confessional Room and share their story in hopes that it will touch one of you. in hopes that something that is said or done will make you look at life a little bit different. So that is the end of episode 1. I hope that you tune in every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at the Confessional Room. And share this with somebody else. Maybe this has nothing to do with you. Maybe you don't know a person who is one of 8. Maybe you don't know who was a part of the 370 million women who may be sexually abused before the age of 18. Maybe that's not you. Maybe that's not your statistic. But I am sure if you share this, comment on this, that it will help somebody. And that's all we're here to do, right? All right.